Hello and good afternoon. I am excited to be starting Why I Learn episode number 9 today with Sofia Castillo. Maria Sofia Castillo, how are you today?
I'm feeling great. How are you?
I'm doing good. Coming from Arizona, you're in Guatemala today. Is this right?
Yeah, I live in Guatemala.
Yeah. What's life like?
Well, it's an adventure. Life's an adventure here in Guate. Right now with the COVID situation, we're just staying home. But normally there's a lot of like nature and there's a lot of cool and warm people you can talk to.
Yeah.
So it's a great place. It's a place of opportunity, truly.
Did the government of Guate lock down the parks and the outdoor experiences?
Yeah, like they are advising not to gather, but still some people are gathering. But yeah, they're advising not to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds similar. I think people are trying their best to be good citizens. Let's just put it that way. Well, we
Yeah.
want to talk about learning today, and I appreciate you coming. What we'll do is just have kind of a quick conversation about why you learn. You and I met. I went to a conference at a university in Guatemala, and I remember finding, although you're very young, you had already seemed to have learned tons of stuff in your life. And I remember being impressed with just your curiosity and the questions you were asking. Would love to just kind of dig into it a little bit. And I don't know that much about your story, so this will be kind of fun to share with people who don't know you over the internet. Why not just talk to strangers on the internet? So tell me about some examples from your life where you've learned something.
Okay. So I would like to begin the story saying that when I was a kid, like learning just came super easily. Like learning the basic things like reading and doing maths and just studying in general was natural. And I didn't even think about it. Like people were like, "But how do you do it?" And I was like, "It comes naturally."
Like
However,
breathing.
yeah, it was like breathing. It was, and it was also fun because when you do things right, like you receive like people celebrate you, and that feels good.
Yeah.
So, but then this strange thing happened when in high school. I went through a lot of like things in my life, and like circumstances hit me, and they hit me so hard that
Yeah.
I began losing those abilities that I naturally had. So suddenly I was not even able to make like a multiplication, or sometimes reading would be like I would see the words and
I know you had said you were a little worried about your internet connection, and we might have lost you for just a minute. Sophia, are you still there?
meaning would can you hear me?
You're back now. Yeah,
I can see you.
it was momentarily frozen, but
Okay.
you're back now.
Oh, okay, cool. So I was saying that in high school, like the last years of it, I began to lose these natural capacities that I had and abilities. Um, can you hear me well? Because I'm
Yeah.
seeing you kind of frozen. Okay.
I can.
So at that moment, it was interesting because then I realized that I had never learned how to learn. Um, and there I was like frustrated, and I wasn't getting all the rewards from school, like, oh, you're doing great in your scores and your grades. No, I was like failing, like truly failing. And I was sad because I was like, how come I can't do the basic things that human beings can do? And then I was frustrated, I started realizing that there were some things I still could do, which were things like dreaming and having these big ideas and just having conversations and building like this, like creating things. I began to be super good at creating things. um, so when that happened, like the creative part didn't come naturally as well, but I had to try it.
Yeah.
But I realized that I was once I tried and experimented, like I could be. I missed it. Are you still there?
Oh, we're back now. Tell me about one thing you created, Sophia, when you were getting into creativity.
Well, I created both artistic things and movements. So one of the artistic things that I started creating was I wrote a book when I was like 16. It was about like understanding, because I realized how I had not been understanding in the future, because I was like, oh, learning is so easy, like doing things is easy. And then I realized that there's just so much behind what learning is and what being a person is. And so I wrote a book about it. It was called Reaching for the Light. Then other thing I created is I was part of this movement that was reaching out for political freedom, and so I started making these events in which people could get together and discuss their ideas. And so those things
Okay,
were cool.
I've got to
Mhm.
stop you here and just say, like, you were 16, you were realizing school wasn't as easy for you. Some people at that point just kind of like turn to video games or, friends, and they just kind of disengage. You decide instead to write a book and start a political movement. So, like, what gave you the like thoughts and the confidence to do that? I mean, that's like pretty. I think most people like identify with your story up until this point, and then it's like, what? Like, where did that come from? So I think it's interesting, and I would love to just understand your thinking at that point, because you weren't getting credit for that, right? Like, was anyone giving you a grade? No one was like, yeah, okay. So tell me about that.
No, um, I had not thought about it, but in the part of the writing part of the book, I just realized that there were just so many things going on in my mind, and I couldn't even understand myself. But when I wrote, it was sort of like having a conversation with myself, and that gave my mind some sense of peace, and it gave me something to look forward to. So I was not losing my mind. I was just having new thoughts that I needed to understand. So as I was writing, I realized, okay, like I can make a story out of how I'm feeling, out of what had happened, out of where I am today, and I can share it with the world. And if that can help anyone, just anyone in the world, then that would make my journey worth it. That with the book part and with the movement park part, um, I would say I also became compassionate at the moment where I started losing many things. So, and I realized that having discussions or conversations or just having ideas would really activate me. And I said, oh, well, I also want to share this with people. And so I decided to like build something out of what was destroying me somehow. And I made these spaces for conversation, and also like the part of the political part came because I saw how sometimes some political statements or political things could affect people's lives. So it was sort of like let's discuss that there are some things that some people are being hurt about, or maybe some people love that thing that's hurting others. So let's just talk about it. So there's that.
Yeah. I mean, that's so interesting, right? Like, I think, like I was talking about, and people know my story. I had a very similar moment to you where I had gotten good grades and pats on the head, like good job, all the way through. And for me, it was in grad school, and found out not only did I not know the material very well, I also didn't know how to learn. Same kind of realization. And I think it's really fascinating that kind of breaking of you as a person led to kind of an increase in empathy for others. Yeah, it sounds like both of these desires to, think and process and learn in a new way, a different way that transcends school, that those things came for you from a deep desire to like do something good for people that you now felt like more connected to, or more interested in, helping them. That's I'm curious about that. I think that's really interesting. Um,
Yeah, and building with upon that, I think that like the whole process of doing those things also was a learning experience, in the sense that since I felt like I couldn't do anything, I began to experiment on how to do those things. And so
Right.
whenever I would do like create something, and I was like, no, that doesn't have enough meaning or whatever. I started realizing that that I could try things and learn from that and then try other things. So that also gave me hope. Like it's not only
Ah,
about succeeding at one thing, but
yeah,
you can start with something and then take the next tiny baby step, because you're having a hard time handling life right now. So just take baby steps
right.
and keep building, like just keep building, keep creating.
Would you say part of that came from like having nothing to lose? Like you had a lot to lose at school because you had this identity wrapped around like who you are as like a good student. Now it's like these are things I want to do. I don't have to do them. It's not my identity, and so I've got nothing to lose. I can take risks with, like writing a book because it's like if I write it and I don't like it, I'll just rewrite it or I'll just change it and make it better.
Yeah, yeah. I think it was a bit of a shock and a bit of a realization, like getting to that point in which I was not being graded, but what I was doing while not being graded had more impact in
Yeah,
myself and probably in the world than
right.
what I was being graded about. That was like cool. That's I think that's when I had the shock of like, where's education in my life, and like how was I learning and how am I learning today at that point, at least.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to hear the rest of the story. How did that kind of carry through as you've like done other things?
Okay, so as I began creating things and doing things, it was still kind of frustrating in school because I couldn't keep up with the pace of other students. um because I couldn't just focus on homework. It was just like everything became hard. And so this teacher came to me and she was like, so you have tons of dreams, you love creating things, but you are not being able to keep up with a specific program. And so she recommended me this new program that was being like born in Guate. And she said it's a program where you can freely create and you can go at your own pace and you can learn whatever you want, however you want. And I was like, okay, like, I mean,
Sign me up. Yeah. I think we
yeah.
talked
And
about
so,
this the time we met at this conference. And that sounds
yeah,
like amazing. Like what a great impact that teacher had for you in your life and giving you this almost permission to think about your education in a totally different way.
completely. Yeah, I was super thankful and I went exploring.
Yeah.
And I even went exploring other career paths. Like I went to universities and I saw the pensums and like the programs. But then I saw them and I was like, because part of the thing that I started developing in school was that I wanted to dig deep into things. So whenever we were seeing a topic in school and they were like, oh, plants are green, I would be like, but why, and how does that work, and is anything, like anything that's green contained that? And like people were like, no, so we have to follow the
Yeah, yeah,
program,
yeah.
so we can't
That's
dig
not
that
that's
deep.
not in the list.
So to
Yes.
focus, yeah,
I
that's
was
this
I was that
works.
exact
And so
I'm that same person. I asked why over and over. It's actually why I majored in physics because physics was like one of the only places where I could find like why, like this is the reason, this is the fundamental law. It's interesting.
yeah, yeah, I love it. And since I had to do that, when I considered all the other programs, I was like, I'm gonna get the same response. I'm probably gonna want to write a book about this specific topic and I won't be able because I need to follow this other program. So I was like, okay, no, I'm done. I'm
Right.
choosing the Michael Planny College. And so when you could imagine, right, telling my parents that I was gonna study like freely, just whatever I wanted, however I wanted. And I come to them, but it was actually beautiful. Okay, so I have 6 brothers and sisters before me, and every single one of them had like uh, followed a super traditional path. I mean, creative paths, but like normal career paths. And they were super smart and whatever. And when I come to my dad, he's like, "You're not gonna go to the university that all of your brothers have attended." And like, I'm like, no. But it was beautiful because he said, I trust that you're gonna learn and that you're gonna build great things wherever you are.
Yeah.
So
Amazing.
we're gonna work hard. Yeah, we're gonna work hard for you to get there, because it wasn't like a a very affordable option, but he was like, I'm gonna do whatever for you to follow your dreams. And I was like, thank you, Dad. And my mom was like, oh, this is not gonna go so well, but okay, I'm just gonna go back. And
Yeah.
so then the program is beautiful. The first year we learned about the liberal arts. So we study like everything,
Yeah.
like from art to physics and
But like
biology. And we were,
you got to choose what you wanted to do?
so the first year is the year where you learn how to learn, and the
Okay.
other 3 years where you start to create your own thing.
Yeah.
So in the first year it was hard because I had trouble reading. Like that's one of the abilities that I kind of lost in the process,
Uh-huh.
and it was hard for me to sit down and just like follow up in one page. So most of the times at the beginning I didn't, but then I learned how to read. So I learned how to read when I was like 18. Like people learn to read when
Yeah.
they're like, I learned to read when I was 18. And that was beautiful. But I think the coolest part is I learned how to read because I wanted to.
It's a big
So
difference between something you choose to
I,
read and something someone else chooses for you. Yeah. And you
yeah,
are
like I
well
had a,
read. I feel like like Plato came up at one point in our conversation. I mean, you've read a lot of
yeah.
stuff. I mean, so that's awesome. For people that are out there watching this that are feeling like a bad reader, don't worry, you can still teach yourself to read. Is that the message?
Yeah, yeah, totally. I think
That's
you can
great.
learn anything at any age. That's
Can you wait,
beautiful.
say that one more time and slow because I want everyone to get it.
I forgot what I just said.
Anyone, anyone
You
can
can go
learn anything at any age. I mean,
yeah,
that
that's right.
seems trite, but it's not obvious. Like people don't believe that, and it's totally true. Like you can learn whatever you want, and it's like I wish if everyone just like sat in that, just like
Mhm.
marinated in it, it would be like this totally different world. Like there's someone out there that's so mad about coronavirus right now, and they could learn how to make vaccines. Like I don't know if it would be in time. I can't guarantee that, but you could learn all of the biotech necessary to invent vaccines. Like most people would be like,
Mhm.
nah, 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 whatever. You don't. That's not actually true, but it is true. Like it's just stuff that we learn, and you can learn it. You can learn it. Anyway, sorry, that's a soapbox.
No, yeah, but building on that thought, like you're saying we can learn anything, and I think mostly now, like we're in an era of open information. You can
Yeah,
Google any topic in the universe, and there's probably an online course or a paper or an article, or probably there's just diffused information that you can gather up and begin to
yeah.
create your own theory. So if it's not in the internet, you can probably create it and put it on the internet. So like
Now it's
go
on the
find
internet.
this. Yeah, I love that.
So good. Well, we've got to wrap this up. I have you learned anything recently? Any like just fun things that you just decided I'm gonna learn?
Yeah, actually, okay, just parentheses, I'm specializing in systems innovation, but yesterday, well, 2 days ago, I decided to, because I'm also a poet, but I decided to learn how to do a video, like
Yeah.
video poetry, and I spent 15 hours, like straight, learning how to do the video thing and recording it and like editing it, and everything's on the internet. Like,
Yeah.
you can become anyone, like, change anything, and like, the world
Hey,
is yours. Like
you got
we're
to
here
put the link to your video poetry in the comments on this.
on Instagram, but yeah, I'll
Oh,
surely
okay. Well,
put
somehow we'll have to figure it out. I don't have
yeah.
Instagram well connected yet, but I'm gonna figure it out. One of Prenda's core values that we say to the kids all the time is figure it out. And I just love that. It's not like it can seem like cold and callous, but it also is the way I say it, it's like it's empowering. It's like I believe that you can solve this and it's awesome. We say it to ourselves
Totally,
too, like let's figure it out.
totally. I
Amazing.
love that.
So video poetry, that's cool. And 15 hours straight is a lot, but I mean, it's so fun when you care about something, you can just dive in and do it.
Right.
Sophia, thank you so much for talking to me today. This has been really interesting and entertaining, and hopefully people are walking away from this with like a renewed confidence and enthusiasm to just choose something you want to learn at any age and do it. Don't worry about like where it sits in the flow.
Yeah, just go with it.
Go with it. Thank you. All right. Thanks so much. And we'll see you guys next time.